position. You ain't got the time to pay me no mind. Well, I don't give a damn. You see, I'm doing just fine.
So my family comes from Delmar Street, which is right off of Oakland Avenue. They had a two-family flat on Delmar, and the family that lived above our family was the Weiss family. And their father was Rube Weiss, who's the voice of CKLW and all the Detroit Dragway commercials. Sunday night at Detroit Dragway. That's Rube Weiss. That's the guy that lived above my family, and his two sons were David and Leon and Johnny, three sons. And David Weiss went on to form the wonderful band Was Not Was with Don Was.
No shit.
So these guys were living above my family on Delmar Street, and 3 blocks away was the Apex Lounge, where John Lee Hooker dropped anchor in 1943 and had a house gig right up till he recorded Boogie Chillin' in 1948, which became one of the first independent record million sellers in history that proved there was an audience for
blues.
The blues and black music that major labels had been ignoring. So that's when you had the explosion of all the little labels, Atlantic Records, Specialty Records, King Records. This is where rock and roll came from. The major labels had nothing to do with starting rock and roll. They just bought into it later. So this neighborhood I'm talking about, Oakland Avenue, was a hotbed of Detroit blues, as well as being, a real ethnically mixed neighborhood. My grandpa ran a fruit market, and the older boys, my uncles, were in the Purple Gang. And
What's the Purple Gang?
The Purple Gang was a predominantly Jewish group of gangsters. They were based on Oakland Avenue, and they ran pretty much all the bootlegging in Detroit. This was during Prohibition.
Yeah.
And so they had a kind of an uneasy but very lucrative relationship with the mafia in Chicago. So the mafia, organized crime, let the Purples have Detroit. They're basically, these guys got it together. All the alcohol we need, they're bringing it in and shipping it out to, Chicago, New York, and bringing it to all the speakeasies in Detroit. If you were to research any of this Detroit history, especially in the 30s, and look up the Purple Gang, you'll see my Uncle Harry has his own chapter. And Harry was basically a numbers guy, but he also was very close with Harry Millman, who was the head of the Purple Gang. Harry Millman didn't like the Italian mob, and when they would come to do business, there'd always be a fight and an argument. Harry would pull out a pistol in a crowded restaurant and pistol whip the guy that came in from Chicago to talk business. So they decided, we got to get rid of this guy, he's a psycho. So unfortunately, the night they decided to kill Harry Millman, my uncle was with them, Harry Gross, and they went to Boesky's on 12th Street. And it was the night before Thanksgiving. The place was packed, everybody's eating, and 2 guys from Chicago came in, and they were at the bar, and they just sprayed them with bullets, reloaded, sprayed them, reloaded, sprayed them. Everybody was laying on the ground. This made like national news. It's in every major newspaper in America. That was in 1937, that hit. So that was like a family member of mine. And that neighborhood was a hotbed for just entertainment, music, alcohol, and you couldn't walk down the street on Oakland Avenue. It was so crowded, just bustling with people shopping and going to clubs and, So Detroit is finally starting to come back in a lot of ways with that kind of, nightlife excitement and, hopefully, it's just going to keep growing and booming here. But I'm very proud of our history.
We finally got away from Prohibition.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Right, exactly. So, Anyway, what I was getting at was that neighborhood was where we started. Then we moved to Northwest Detroit, and then I kind of went to school right off of 8 Mile, on the fabled 8 Mile Road where, Eminem made his movie. It's that same little strip right there.
When did you get your first instrument? What was it?
First instrument was, my parents got divorced when I was 7, and so I would just listen to the hi-fi in the living room at night, and dial in all these border radio. At night in Detroit, you could pick up Texas, and you could pick up Mexico. I mean, it was crazy. I'd be fishing and then I'd hear some guy down in Shreveport, Louisiana going, "Oobop shabam, and how you am, shooby doo, and how are you? It's your daddy, the radio, the platypus, and papa, the boss man, the tail dragger, the gangster of love. I'm the pharmacist of funk. Right now, we're gonna dazzle your brain with some Slim Harpo." And then they'd play this blues record, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, I just found the world I need to be in." Yeah, it was like that. So I bugged my dad. He got me a snare drum. And a couple of my mom's artist boyfriends were real cool guys. They brought me some jazz albums. And I started listening to this stuff. And I made up my mind when I was about 8 that, I need to be a musician. And I started on the drums.
It's a good start, man.
Yeah.
Start with the foundation, man.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, bap. So when did you contract Bluesheimer's?
Bluesheimer's came much later. Bluesheimer's is just when, things that
Get a little fuzzy.
yeah, things that you need to be doing, you're not doing. You're not, maybe.
Guilty.
And it's like when DTE pulls up to your house and the guy gets out to disconnect your, electricity, and you go, "Hey, what are you doing?" He goes, "Well, you didn't pay the bill, so we got to disconnect your electric." And you go, "Well, guess why I didn't pay the bill? I was suffering from Bluesheimer's."
I'm a card-carrying member.
Why didn't you say so? We'll hook you back up there, doctor. Keep jamming.
I can't believe half the shit that you remember, brother. I mean, that's beautiful. Hey, man, thank you so much for coming and being on the Insomnia Chronicles. Everybody, Tino Gross, this is Peter Keys. Thank you for watching. That's what's up.
You say you need a man, one that understands, a man to hold you tight, a man that's out of sight. Well, I checked with my schedule, it looks like I may be available to help with your condition. Only one slight problem, I'm overqualified for that position.